straightforward. Like, yeah, I follow Jesus Christ. I'm a Christian.
Because the question is almost always manipulative. That it's not really a question.
Interesting that this is actually popping up because maybe like 2 months ago, there was this clip. I saw it through the YouTubers Abba and Preach, where Jordan Peterson was either he chose to go, whatever, invited to the show where he's surrounded by how many were like 20 people, and they would have, a few minutes to debate, ask questions about Jesus, about Christianity. And for what I remember, or how I kind of tapped or learned about him, was through this book. It was some clip on YouTube. Oh, I remember. It was a clip on YouTube that actually introduced him to me, saying, he's this professor and was doing this. It's still around, but it was doing this hyper hot heated woke culture debate and gender stuff and all these things going on. And there was this viral clip about him, and then there was just more and more clips about him. So I learned about him. I learned he's an author. He writes books. I actually have one book. So far, I've just thought, okay, great person, well, educated, well-spoken, interested in different topics. He likes to debate. I enjoy watching people who are really good at debating. He knows how, just good so far. And then I learned a bit more about him, that he is actually, over the years, he has become a Christian. Obviously not 2 years ago, but, some time, or he has found his love, belief. I'm not trying to say something wrong, in Christ, in Jesus, which is a beautiful thing. And then going back to this, situation, him in the middle, surrounded by these young 20 people, whatnot, and they're asking questions. And one was pressing him to answer, are you a Christian? Are you a Christian? Do you believe in Jesus? And somewhat, for what I remember, he was trying to skip the answer. And that's how that clip went viral, or at least I learned about it through Abba and Preach. So now I'm thinking this is very interesting that I'm seeing him again on a podcast where perhaps this topic, this question, this situation is, who knows, going to be addressed. My God, that was a long intro, guys. I hope you guys are following. Hello and welcome back to the Talk Podcast. Let's see what this clip is about.
George Janko just pressed Jordan Peterson on Jesus for 13 minutes straight in a way that no one has before. What came out wasn't just revealing, it exposed the deeper fear behind Peterson's silence, something I understood firsthand during a dinner conversation I had with him a few months ago. But first, let's start with what George uncovered. Towards the end of George's conversation with Peterson, he starts pressing Peterson for an answer to a question that people have been struggling to get out of Peterson for years now.
Why is it that when people ask you if you're a Christian, you don't really answer it like straightforward? Like, yeah, I follow Jesus Christ. I'm a Christian.
Because the question is almost always manipulative. That it's not really a question. It's a demand. It's a veiled demand that I declare my allegiance in the manner they see fit at that moment. It's like, no, thank you. First of all, that's a relatively private matter. And second, just exactly what the hell are you up to? So that's the general.
Okay, so Peterson is saying that
I don't know. So you just heard that, and I could see many people thinking, no, not really. Like, it's just, especially for people who believe, it's a simple thing. Do you believe in Jesus? If they do, they would just say yes. Are you a Christian? It's more of a yes and no thing, right? So I'm very interested in seeing or learning why this seems to be so difficult for him.
he's not dodging the question, he just refuses to be manipulated. And then he goes on to say this.
I'm not interested in trumpeting it. I'm still figuring things out, and I'm trying to explain what I'm learning as I go. And I don't want to parade my virtuous faith, as a proclamation.
That part I definitely get. Like, especially with the explanation saying, I'm still figuring things out. I'm not sure. So there are many people who are at the very start in their faith, or like trying to learn about God, trying to learn about different, just even understanding life. And sometimes it's really difficult for us as people to really say, I'm determined, this is what I am, this is who I am, this is what I believe. For some people, there is kind of a struggle because they think, if I say I am a Christian, as an example, there could be certain stigmas. Or if I say that I'm a Christian, they might be thinking, oh, but I'm not perfect. I'm faulty here, and there. and forget that that's not the point. The point is exactly you trying to get to the better path. Does that make sense? So let's see.
I think that's false. People can decide for themselves if they're interested what I'm up to by watching. If they're interested what I do, they can derive their own conclusions. And
Judge them by their fruit.
Hier war das Zimmer meiner Eltern. Davon ist nichts mehr übrig. In der Nacht am 18.
that's the theory. Right.
Okay, so Peterson is drawing a line here. The implication is that he doesn't want to perform faith. He wants people to see it through his life rather than labels. And this is something he seems to drive home even more in what he says next.
Right.
Judge them by their fruit.
When people say too that they're a Christian, I actually generally don't really know what they mean. I mean, you guys laid it out and you provided some indication of what you meant in this decision that you just made. That's actually worth attending to, in my estimation, more than a casual declaration. And so I'm not that interested in casual declarations. And people declare their Christianity all the time. And part of me thinks not everyone who says, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven. Right? So be careful what you claim. It's a high bar.
Okay, and by the way, remember when Peterson quotes Jesus by saying,
not everyone who says, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven.
Now, that isn't just a side note, it's important, and we're going to come back to it here in a bit. But that verse hints at something deeper, because so far, Peterson has said that he sees the question as a trap, the label is overused, and it's a declaration of something that's too sacred to say lightly. But still, something about his explanation feels unresolved. You might be wondering, is he being honest, or is this just another dodge? And at first glance, it definitely could sound like a cop-out. But the more we listen, the more we hear him reveal the real issue behind his reluctance to call himself a Christian. One that George starts to slowly pull back with his follow-up question.
Does the Bible verse scare you when they say that they'll deny me in public? I'll deny you in front of my Father. Because you're denying them because they're trying to set you in a trap. But would you not have confidence?
I'm denying the questioner ownership over my tongue. I don't like having people put words in my mouth.
So what do you classify yourself as? Like, if Jesus came down right now, would you be his son? Or would you be somebody who's studying Jesus? Like, where does your heart lie right now? Who is your God? And I'm not trying to trap you or to be disrespectful.
So you see how complicated this is, even if it's actually not a complicated situation at all. But that's the thing with intellectual people. They can make something. And I'm not saying that believe Christianity, the Bible, it is very complex. Please don't get me wrong with that. But to most people, as I started off saying, this is actually a yes and no question. And especially some people might be thinking, wait a minute, maybe he's actually the one who's on the other side, because no one who truly believes is looking for a perfect human, a perfect Christian. There's no one who's perfect, right? But what strongly is, how to put it, like a strong force is to say, even if I don't know everything, this is who I believe in. Like, they would call on to Jesus proudly, loudly, everywhere, because they believe. Does that make sense? So it's so difficult.
Disrespectful. I just want to know where your heart lies, because the wisdom that you're pouring out into people is something that, dude, we promote it on our show and we learn from it and we grow from it. So I just want to know who, because I see you as my mentor.
What do you think?
I see you as, my perspective is that you are a God-fearing man. You're learning and you're taking what God gave you and you're teaching others. From your fruits, if I tasted them, I said, this is a righteous man that's after God's heart, like David. But then your mouth will say, who says that I'm a Christian? So it does confuse me as somebody who does watch you.
That's a good answer.
Gotcha. Or what's going on? I mean, we all know Jordan Peterson is. It's not bad to be sensitive or like in tune with your emotions or thoughtful and taking your time, but we know he's
answer.
somewhat sensitive. I want to listen in again.
You're watching?
What he said was, to me, basically, without being mean, you say the right things, but I don't know if you mean it. Kind of like a pretender, like a perfect show, like an act, someone who knows what to say, but do they really follow? But he said it in such a much more meaningful way and in a very respectful way without actually judging. He actually said probably what we were all thinking, but with good faith.
I see you as, my perspective is that you are a God-fearing man. You're learning and you're taking what God gave you and you're teaching others. From your fruits, if I tasted them, I said, this is a righteous man that's after God's heart, like David. But then your mouth will say, who says that I'm a Christian? So it does confuse me as somebody who does watch you.
That's a good answer. I don't know how to add to that.
That one really hit. He's really speechless. It's tough to get this person speechless, but I'm asking myself, where does this inner struggle come from, right? As I said, even myself, I know this emotion of, well, I'm not sure if I'm really there, if I really belong, if I can really follow, right? Like you're confused. A lot of the times you're confused. So I'm sure many people will, just have understanding towards that. But at the same time, it's like, could it be something else? Could it be some kind of different struggle that you're facing? Could it be that you really love God, you really love Jesus, you really believe, and you have all this knowledge and you understand? But could it be that you're somehow your toe in different spaces, in different circles? Are you, and this is not necessarily me saying some demonic stuff or anything, no way, but I mean, not no way, but I'm not saying that. But is there something, someone, some plan, something else holding you away? Like, what is it that you cannot let go of to actually, say, yes, I do believe in Jesus? Like, what is it?
To what you already said, I'm trying to find my way. And I'm communicating with people about that voyage as clearly as I possibly can.
Okay, so George is voicing what a lot of people are wondering, which is, if you're already living like it, why not say it? But here's the question behind the question. Is Peterson dodging Jesus, or is he dodging pressure and premature finality? If it's the latter, it actually makes sense. Maybe he wants the freedom to search, to only speak when words feel true, or to let his life speak before his lips do. And if that's the case, then honestly, I get it, because I'm sure that I'm not the only one who's thought, if I'm a Christian and then mess up or doubt, then I'm a fraud. And because of that, or maybe even the culture war baggage that's being attached to the label Christian, sometimes can make you hesitant to use that label when talking to other people. But
That is very true, because nowadays everything, your private choices can be used for political agendas, especially him being someone in the public eye. But wouldn't that even maybe be even a stronger reason for you to say, I need to hold on to my faith if I really have that faith? But at the same time, I get it, if this argument from this host right now, if that could be true, because for him to live this worldly life, if that makes sense, there's connection and attachment, opinions and rules, sometimes governed by other people. So that's why I'm thinking, what is it that you're holding on to that's holding you?
regardless, at this point, it doesn't sound like a fear of tribalism anymore. It feels like a fear of something else entirely. And years ago, in a rare talk, Peterson said something that actually exposed exactly that. Something that makes all of this click. Before we get into that, we have to take a second to thank the sponsor of today's video, American Hartford Gold. Now, I'm sure I don't have to tell you that inflation is getting out of control. And every day inflation is up, your dollar is losing value, which means that everything is getting more expensive. Not to mention the tariff debates and the wars are only adding to the chaos, and in these unstable times, it's important to safeguard your finances. A great way to secure your hard-earned wealth is to make gold and silver even easier. You can get up to 1563 or text me.
Stell dir vor, Geld wäre nicht länger die Quelle von Angst, von Scham, von Sorgen, von Zweifeln.
A long time. Because years ago,
The kingdom of heaven.
now that was not just a warning. 863-1963 or text meme to 65532 right now, or you can just click the link down below in the description. All right? Now, let's get back to why Peterson seems to be fearing something deeper. Think back to what Peterson said earlier.
Not everyone who says, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven.
Now, that was not just a warning. It was a window into something deeper, something that he's been wrestling with for a very long time. Because years ago, Peterson gave a talk about this question, and his response reveals exactly what may be the real reason he won't call himself a Christian.
Let's say you do believe in God. Say, I believe in God. It's like, okay, well, that's hypothetically pretty impressive, I would say. It's like you believe that there's a divine power that oversees everything, that is fundamentally ethical, that's watching everything you do, and you believe that. Are you all in on your beliefs? Are you sacrificing everything to this transcendent entity that you proclaim belief in? Have you cleansed yourself of all your sin, let's say? Are you making all the sacrifices that you need to make?
So here he's saying that he's not dismissing his faith, he's just holding it to a terrifying standard, and one that most of us would never dare to say out loud. And he's not saying it antagonistically either, as he makes clear.
And I'm not trying to denigrate the statement or the ritual, but I'm pointing out that that's no indication of you're right to say that you believe. Because you got, and I think this is why it's bothered me to answer this question. It's like, well, what right do I have to say that? To make that claim? I believe in God. Well, what's the claim? Is that the claim that I'm a good person somehow?
You see, that's the thing with Jordan Peterson. He's going to make you think, because I get that point as well. Sometimes it feels like an easy way out, like even how I started, and it's still valid, it's still true, because we are not perfect, but are we really believers with what we know? What we know, how we're supposed to treat ourselves, treat other people. Does that make sense? Like, with all the things that we do, even to ourselves, the tiny little bad treatments that you give to yourself, yet we want to say, oh, I believe in God, but do we even live that way? Does that make sense? It's so deep. So I hope I'm getting it right.
How? Because you think that if you believed in God, actually, like seriously, that you'd be a good person, like right now, because, well, well, for obvious reasons, I would think. And so if that hasn't happened in some sort of miraculous sense, so that you're the best person you could possibly imagine being on an ongoing basis, and then terrified of deviating from that path in a...
But with the tiny knowledge that I have, I will have to interrupt in that place, because the belief, the love to God, the belief that you have this intimate relationship is not magic, right? We as human should we are faulty. So it's not going to be, yes, I believe, and yes, I'm in my faith, and yes, I'm in my path, boom, tomorrow, because now I said I believe. That's not how it works, right? I think it's more about obviously not repeating your mistakes and keep claiming, oh yeah, sure, I believe he's gonna. No, that's not the point. But I think it's consistency, is to see how your heart has changed, how you used to be, how you're now, how you're keeping on to stay better and becoming better towards what God would want you to do in life, with your life towards others. Does that make sense?
serious manner, then I don't see why you have the right to say that you believe in God.
Based off other clips and this clip, this is it. the deepest reason beneath them all. He's not afraid of backlash. He's afraid of dishonoring something sacred. Because to Peterson, calling yourself a Christian isn't a badge, it's a vow, a declaration of allegiance to moral perfection, one that he doesn't think he's living up to and maybe could never live up to. This is why in other
Wow. I must say, if that's really it, then he is unmeasurably hard on himself. And I don't know if, that is what the love of God would want for him, to be so hard on himself, I don't know. But I will respect it if he doesn't want to call himself that, because on a smaller scale, I've had that. And sometimes, like, even just the struggle of belief, I can admit to that. I know people who have that. I can imagine more people have that. So this idea of, am I really good enough for his love? Really? Can I really claim this? That thought process, I get that, and many people will understand that. I would, hope for him that he could pray about it. Honestly, that's the best thing he could do, to, find a way not to be so hard on himself, because he actually, that's a good way to prove it. Your heart is at a good place. And I think it's okay to say, I'm trying and I'll never be perfect, instead of beating yourself down trying to seek perfection. God knows your heart. He knows where you put him, where he stands in your life, right? He already knows he is the greatest ever. But I don't think he would want us to keep beating ourselves down for us to hold him up. No, we need to have love in us so we can. Does that make sense? I hope I'm not drifting. I am drifting for sure.
interviews, when he talks about Jesus being a morally perfect example for us to imitate, he breaks down at the thought of Jesus actually existing in reality.
But the narrative in the objective world touch. And the ultimate example of that, in principle, is supposed to be Christ. But I don't know what to. That seems to me oddly plausible. But I still don't know what to make of it. Partly because it's too terrifying a reality to fully believe. I don't even know what would happen to you if you fully believed it.
Now, once you understand this, then you know that this isn't about semantics. It's about a man being crushed under the weight of what it would mean to truly call.
Wow. I don't know. Really, my mind is going so many places, but for what I see, not only because, yeah, he's this emotional person. No, I think this is something that means so much to him. And I think he has so much respect and love actually for God and Christ. That's why he's struggling even more. Like, there is not only respect, love, but there is maybe also some fear to it, in a sense of, what if I fail? What if I do wrong? What if I do hurt someone? Because he is trying to uphold this standard, right?
Call himself a Christian. And you know what? He's actually not wrong to hold to this standard. Mm-hmm. In fact, technically, he's right. And that's why my recent conversation with him was so about semantics. It's about
imagine, as I said, it's tough. Like, the amount of struggles we all face, I face in my day-to-day, right? You beat yourself down for tiny things, for big things. You're doubtful, you're struggling, like all these things. You have emotions. Of course, we have great times as well. But unfortunately, those tiny little days, those bad days, these moments, they're stuck in mind. And compare, like, they hold longer, right? You can imagine them, you can feel them, you can relive them much more easier than those great moments. If you think about your day, you had much more great moments, but you're going to be like, oh my God, the coffee machine today didn't work. Right? But think about it. If just from a standard as behavior wise, because I know there are different belief systems and religions, right? And that is perfectly okay. Some actually even acknowledge each other, which I appreciate. Is definitely fine. But what I'm trying to say is that, imagine if we would want, as individuals, we would want to hold up more to such a great standard, right? To be, to act, to live, to want to show kindness to someone else and yourself like Jesus did. Imagine what world would we believe we would be living in, a world that is so blissful, so I don't know. I couldn't even imagine it. It would be so good, right?
Man being crushed under the weight of what it would mean to truly call himself a Christian. And you know what? He's actually not wrong to hold to this standard. In fact, technically, he's right. And that's why my recent conversation with him was so critical. So I've met Peterson a couple of times in person now, and the last time, me and Ruslan KD had dinner with him and his wife. And during our conversation, we naturally started talking about faith, and he asked me about my journey and how I became a Christian. Eventually, we got to the part where I told him that the more that I internalized that I was saved by grace, a free and undeserved gift, the more that my life changed in drastic ways. Then he asked me, well, how does that work? And knowing that he had a background in psychology, I used AA as an example. I told him that although I don't understand it all of the way, one way to think about it is how people in AA often experience significant changes in their lives once they truly come to believe that they're unconditionally loved and accepted. There's something about that that gives them the strength to turn their lives around and to break free from strongholds. Now, of course, this isn't an equivalent to the gospel, but it's an imperfect way to try to grasp how being accepted by God due to God's grace changed everything for me. So after I gave him that analogy, he thought for a couple of seconds before he responded, and then he asked me a question that I could tell was burning in his mind. He said, then why do you do anything good? Meaning that if I believe that I was completely and utterly saved by God's grace, then what motivation do I have to live morally in the world? The implication behind his question is that the motivation to do good works is based on fear or merit. And if you remove that, then you naturally lose the motivation to do good things. And that's when I told him that.
No, I don't think, I mean, yes, it happens, valid, but I think it's the freedom, it's the love, it's the joy, is that inner feeling that you cannot describe that motivates you to want to give that to others, to want to join. Like, does that make sense? It's not, of course, we should be respectful and fearful of the Lord, but I don't think it's only that. I think it's actually this, because when I hear people who are really, really into, I don't know, I'm not there yet, but when I hear people who are so in tune with the love that they have to God, the belief that they have in Jesus, and they're just so, oh my God, I'm feeling it right now because I'm just thinking about that feeling that I see them having, like when they talk about it. And they want to give that, they want to share that, they want to do good, they want to help because they experience this inner feeling, this joy, this, and it's for free. Like they didn't even have to do anything. That's like, you know what I mean? Is you don't have to buy it, you don't owe anyone anything. They just have it, and that's the motivation. It's the love. It's the, I want to give that to you. I want to let you know how that feels. So I'm gonna keep on giving and going on and praying and loving and sharing and all that good stuff.
Before I understood grace, when I thought about going to heaven, any good deeds that I performed couldn't be actually good because at core, they had to be done out of a root of selfishness. In some ways, I thought if I did enough good things, then God would have to let me into heaven. And if I don't, then I go to hell. So fundamentally, the motive to do good works was ultimately selfish. And if I wanted to believe that I was going to be accepted by God, then I would have to convince myself that I was living a moral enough life to earn his acceptance. But then I came to learn that according to the gospel, I'm not saved based off of my good works, but only by the good works of Christ that he offered to me as a free and undeserved gift. The moment that I really understood and internalized that was when my motivation for doing good in the world radically changed, because I no longer did things out of duty or obligation, and I no longer did things because I had to. Instead, I did things because I got to, out of thankfulness rather than fear. And as I explained this to Peterson, he seemed to be taken aback, as if he's never heard that before. And he said it was interesting, and then brought it up later as he appeared.
I'm also surprised, not because it doesn't make sense to me, but like out of thankfulness is such a good way to put it. Yeah. Yeah.
To continue to process it more. Okay, but here's why all of this matters. That answer that I gave him then is the only thing that I believe will solve the problem that Peterson describes today. Peterson is hesitant to call himself a Christian because he correctly sees the burden that we have to live a perfect life if we're going to try to earn God's acceptance. And Peterson articulates this beautifully. We truly do not understand grace until we realize that a morally perfect God requires for us to be morally perfect as well. And he also rightly tells people how they should work hard towards becoming the best and the most moral versions of themselves as Christians. But what he appears to be missing, at least publicly, is how we're actually saved in the first place, which is the thing that changes the entire landscape. Think about it. If you believe
Well, this clip is coming to an end. I would be so interested in how you guys liked it and what you actually think. Me personally, we still didn't get like a clear answer from him. That's my opinion, but I somehow still understand it. I understand the inner struggle. I understand, maybe not to like his degree, but I can, is it empathize with it? Yeah. So, and towards the end now, I'm thinking to myself, this has nothing to do with Jordan Peterson. This is actually a good question to myself, right? So whoever out there thought that this was, interesting for them, they learned something, and maybe it kind of tickled out this question about your faith and where you stand and do you actually believe? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe this is something that just is going to encourage me to go much more within myself and see where this path is going to lead me. Have a good one. Hope you guys enjoyed. Bye.